Listen closely, my friends, for scary stories abound to keep you awake through the pitch black night. Oh, have I got a story for you?
Hi, everybody. My name is Dave Scott of Spaced Out Radio, and I'm going to share with you my spooky story right here on Paranormal Road Trippers because Merle was like, hey, Dave, you got to do one. So here it goes. Now, I know you're used to on this channel a lot of stuff about ghosts, hauntings. Well, mine's nothing to do with that. Mine takes place over 2 days in a 5-day spread, and I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. We're going to go back in time here to 2014. It was April 10th, about 9:30 at night. And things got really, really weird. So I was heading over to a friend's house after work. It was about 8:30 at night at this time, and I was driving where I worked out of town towards my friend's house, which was about 52 kilometers or about 30 miles away. And as I was driving home, I started to have this incredible migraine headache. And I didn't understand why, but I do suffer from migraines. And during that time, I was getting a lot of them. So I pulled in to their driveway about 9 o'clock and I walk into their house. So let me describe their property before I go any further. Their property was 10 acres and it had a lot of high strangeness on it. Their neighbors, who were elderly, had a 6.5-acre lot right beside them. There were only 2 houses on the street. Both houses were surrounded by forest and a gully that surrounded the forest. So, here we go. It's about 9 o'clock at night at this point by the time I got there. I walk in the house and I'm totally cannot see because my head is so sore from a migraine. Now, my partner, who's inside with our infant son, looks at me and she goes, "Are you okay?" I said, "No." I said, "I got a really bad migraine. I don't know how long I'm going to stay. I'm probably going to head home very soon." And she asked me if we wanted to leave at that point. I said, "No, you just got here. We said we were coming over for late night tea. So let's have a tea. And if I got to go, I got to go. No problem." I went and sat on the couch and just closed my eyes, trying to eliminate any source of light possible to try and calm my eyes down. And I ended up with a washcloth over my eyes in order to help. And it was helping. Now, about 9:30, I started feeling a little bit better, but things started to change. All of a sudden, the front of my head started pulsating in the shape of a square. On the right side of my head, it started pulsating like a triangle. Then on the left side of my head, it started pulsating like a circle. By this time, it was 10 o'clock at night. It was one of those nights where it was very dreary, very misty, very moist out, low clouds like fog. And at 10 o'clock, I started getting an anxiety attack. The pain was now gone, but I knew that something was about to happen. You see, a lot of my experiences happened on this property, and if I had a chance to go back, I totally would. But there are new owners there now, and unfortunately, there's nothing I can do. But on this night, I had an anxiety attack that I had to go into the back field near the backwoods immediately. I looked at my partner and I said, "I got to go outside." And she's like, "Why?" I said, "I don't know. Something is calling me outside." So she goes, "Oh, can I come?" I'm like, "No, you got to stay inside with our son." She's like, "Okay." The lady of the house comes by me and says, "Are you okay?" I said, "I got to go outside." She's like, "Okay." So she yells at her hubby, who owns the property, says, "Dave's picking something up. We need to go outside right now." And I immediately interrupted her and said, "He's not invited." It was just her and I. Why would I tell somebody that they weren't invited to go into the backyard of their own property. But nonetheless, the lady of the house and myself walk out the front door, and you could feel this strange energy that was outside. We walk about 50 feet behind the house where there's an old fence for the horses, where their pen used to be. This old rickety 2x10 fence. And we stop there. And she looks at me and she says, "Dude, what do you think's out here?" I said, "I don't know." She goes, "Well, it called you, so why don't you ask where it is?" So I said, "Out of God's peace, love, and light, you called me outside. Can you please show me where you are?" And in that exact moment, from about 150 yards away, the most incredible thing happened. And it changed my life forever. Because at that moment, when I said, "Out of God's peace, love, and light, can you please show me where you are?" from the neighbor's back field tucked in towards the forest, there was a UFO that lit up on my command. It was bright white light, the brightest white light I have ever seen. And to this day, I've never seen white light like it. It was so bright, but what was interesting about it was it wasn't hurting my eyes. I wasn't squinting to look at it. And it turned itself on, and I was like, holy crap, what the hell is this? And the lady with me was like, oh my God. Now, this is only about 150 yards away, and we don't know what to do. And then after about 30 seconds, the light went off. But during that time, I was thinking, okay, let's be logical here. We can't think UFO right away. Was that one of those million candle watt flashlights? Maybe. Okay, but how did it hear me? Because I was talking to it in the exact same volume I'm talking to you right now. And there is no way that 150 yards away, talking at this volume, that anything would have been able to hear me. And then I'm listening around. Do I hear noise? Do I hear laughter? Do I hear talking? Do I hear any music being played? And no, and no. When the light was off, I said, if you are of alien descent, out of God's peace, love, and light, can you turn the lights back on? The lights from the craft came back on. This time, the white light was brighter and wider through the trees. And I'm trying to figure out where it's coming from. What is holding this light together? And so I move to my right about 10 feet, 15 feet, and I find a path through the trees that were kind of blocking the view of this thing between the yards. And there was this giant blue cylinder standing vertically, about 30 feet high. And there was this black cloud at the bottom of the base that was rotating counterclockwise up to about halfway up, and then it would make its way halfway down. And I just stood there, frozen, looking at this thing. And the white light seemed to be emanating from the bottom of it. It was lighting up everything in this rural area. And then after about 30 seconds, the lights went off again. So the lady says to me, let's go over there. No, let's not. She goes, come on, let's go over there. I said, no, we're not going over there. We don't know what that is. We don't know if it's going to harm us. We don't know if we're ever going to be taken. She goes, well, I'm going. And I said, no, you're not. I said, we don't know what this thing is. And I said, I am not going back into your house without you if this thing takes us and we're gone forever. I said, I'm not taking that responsibility. You're going to stay here right with me. And I was shaking and I was very serious. Well, she stood by me, thankfully. She goes, we'll see if they'll turn the lights on again. So I said, just so I know I'm not crazy, out of God's peace, love, and light, will you turn your lights on one final time? Lights come back on. This time it's the exact same brightness. I could see the blue cylinder. I can see the black cloud running up and down it. But it did something really strange at the end. It turned its lights off, then on, then on and off, just like a light switch, on and off, on and off, on and off. And it did this about 9, 10 times before everything went dark. There was no sound, there was no wind, there was no buzzing, there was no vibrating. The thing was just gone. So we stood there for a while, and I kept trying for about another 5 minutes. Come on, just one more time, just so I know this is believable. Just one more time, turn your lights on. Nothing. So after about 5, 6 minutes of trying, we turned back to go back to the house. And the lady points up in the sky. She goes, "What is that?" And way up in the clouds, there is this orange orb poking through the clouds. And then it seeped its way back into the cloud. And as it seeped its way back into the cloud, this white bolt of lightning, the same bright white light that we had seen on the ground, ripped through the clouds and disappeared in a split second. We go back inside, we say what happened, and eventually we went home. And I really didn't sleep for 5 days knowing that something was going on. Fast forward to April 15th, 2014. I had the day off work. I hadn't been back at the farm since then. And I meet this young lady named Samantha Mowat. Samantha is a psychic intuitive from British Columbia. She is also a ET contactee, lifelong. So after a bunch of the small talk, getting to know each other, the three ladies having their tea and everything, and I'm sitting there kind of wandering around, Samantha says, "Are you okay?" I said, "No." She goes, "You want to go outside, don't you?" Because we had just told her the story. I said, "Yeah, I do." And she goes, "Okay, do you mind if I come with you?" I said, "Okay." So it's about 1:30, 1:40 in the afternoon, and we walk to the backfield. And I showed her where we were standing. Then we walked deeper into the backfield, and I showed her from my friend's yard, looking into the neighbors where the craft had been sighted. Samantha starts picking up the energy. And the farm had 2 dogs. And I always used to bring my 2 dogs over to run around with the 2 farm dogs because it was just easier that way. Give the dogs some exercise, play around, and it was a lot of fun. So from there, Samantha and I are looking all around because something didn't feel right. And we're standing in the middle of the field. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon now. And Samantha says to me, "Dave, do you want to walk back in the forest?" And I immediately knew. I said, "Sure." She goes, "You know we're probably going to see something, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And I took a deep breath. I said, "I know." She goes, "Okay, but I'm not sure about the dogs. We should try and get the dogs back to the house because from what I know, ETs don't like dogs." And that just confirmed it for me. There were ETs in the forest. So we end up trying to chase the dogs back to the house. The dogs wouldn't leave us. And in fact, the more we moved towards the forest in the backyard, the more the dogs ran ahead. So we just said, "Screw it, let's go." So we walk towards the back fence, which opens up into the forest. And all 4 dogs are waiting there for us. And as we get to the gate, all 4 dogs take off into the forest while Samantha and I are making small talk. To this day, I don't recall what it is. We get about 50 yards into the forest, and Samantha looks around, and she has this real perplexed look on her face, like, just, what's going on? And I asked her, I said, "Are you okay?" She looks around and she says, "Dave, where are the dogs?" The dogs were just right with us. And as I looked around the forest, I couldn't see any of the 4 dogs. So we kept on going. We walked another 50 yards into the forest, and Samantha jumps up on this tree stump. And she's looking around, and she has that perplexed look on her face again. And then she looks at me again, and I'm about 18 inches away from her. And she goes, "Dave, I don't want you to be afraid, but I want you to look that way. I want you to tell me what you see." So I took a deep breath. I turned to my left and I looked and I said, Samantha, what the F is that? Samantha, what the F is that? What the F is that, Samantha? What the F is that? Because 200 feet away from us, in the middle of the afternoon, was a 10 to 12 foot extraterrestrial standing there staring back. I was frozen. Nobody prepared me for this moment. Not my hockey coaches, not my parents, not my grandparents, nor my teachers or mentors or friends. Nobody prepared me for this moment. I am 40 years old and I'm looking at an extraterrestrial in the middle of the afternoon. The thing was very thin. I do not recall seeing its face. I do not recall seeing its arms or legs, but I saw the head, the neck, and the body. And it was a light tan color, almost like if you put too much cream in your coffee, so it looks milky. And eventually, as we stared at this thing, it changed color to a darker brown, almost the color of a giraffe or a quarter horse. As I'm trying to take this all in, Samantha starts getting a telepathic message from whatever it is this is. I did not see the second being. There were two there. Samantha starts communicating with the second one, who says, you're more than welcome to come over and say hello. We're not here to take you. We're not here to harm you. However, we are worried about the man's health. Now, I had just seen fire in the sky. I know what happens when aliens get close, or at least I thought I did. And to this day, I didn't go. I was scared. I was frozen. I didn't know what to do. There was only Samantha and I there, so I knew that this alien was talking about my health. Samantha to this day thinks that if I'd have went over there, I'd have probably had a heart attack or a stroke. So Samantha says, let's go. And I said, no, I don't want to. I said, please don't leave me. And she's like, oh, I'm going over there. And she starts to walk down the trail. And I begged her. I said, Samantha, please don't leave me. I don't want to walk back to the house where I am suspect number one in case something happens. So regretfully, she stayed with me. And we stared at these beings until all of a sudden we started getting this tingling feeling that there were more beings down another trail. So we said goodbye to these ones, and we walked to another part of the forest. And out of the corner of our eye, you could see things move, but it could have been anything. It could have been chipmunks, it could have been birds or leaves falling or whatever. I didn't see anything. We go back to the original spot to see if those guys are still there. They are now gone. We then walk back to the house, and as we are getting close to the gate of the forest to enter the property from the forest, all four dogs come running back out towards us. Now, this was one of my scariest moments of my life because it really challenged me in all aspects. But the biggest thing that scares me is that I didn't go up to it. I didn't go up to the craft, nor did I go meet the aliens. And to this day, I live with that regret.